When Samsung created the phablet phone with their original Note device in 2011, it was met with scepticism from a great many people. But jump forward 5 years and it seems every man and his dog wants a piece of the phablet pie. Xiaomi is one of those manufacturers, and in this video I'm going to be looking at their third entry into the budget sector of the phablet marketplace, the Redmi Note 3. The question is, can it stand out in what's now becoming an important battleground for the phone manufacturers? Let's find out. Let's talk tech. The Xiaomi Redmi Note 3 is a reasonably compact device considering it sports a 5.5-inch display. The glass front and metal back give a balanced weight in the hand that reassures you that you've got a well-made product. Looking around the phone, we see the front is dominated by that 5.5-inch 1080p LCD screen, above which sits the 5-megapixel camera and main earpiece, and also an LED notification light. At the bottom of that are the 3 capacitive buttons, which are backlit, although in all honesty they're not very bright and can be hard to see in bright daylight. On the rear we've got the 13 megapixel camera with a dual LED flash, and below that is the fingerprint sensor, which is pretty good, but I'll talk more about that later on in the video. Just a quick note at this point, I'm actually reviewing the entry-level Redmi Note 3. There are a number of different variants, one of which is the recently announced Pro version, which does sport a better camera. I will put some samples in the camera section though to show you what difference you're getting with regards to that camera and the other functions. Xiaomi have also decided to place a speaker on the back of the phone, which could be an issue, but after some testing I found there's very little distortion, and in the instance that there was, it's not very pronounced, so the user experience isn't affected when the phone's placed on a flat surface. On the sides we have the usual power button and volume rocker. In addition, there's also a dual SIM tray offering some flexibility for those who travel or require a second SIM. We have the 3.5mm head jack, which is located on the top, along with an IR blaster. And finally, on the bottom we've got the good old trusty micro USB charging cable port. I have to say that generally I'm pretty impressed with the build quality on this phone, especially when you consider the price point. I mean, this 16GB entry-level model can be had for around about the £150 or $170 mark, and that's delivered. So let's look at some of the specifics of the phablet. Let's focus on the display first of all. So as already mentioned, you're dealing with a 1080p screen here. Now, whilst this may be frowned upon by some pixel peepers who love their Quad HD and 4K displays, it's perfectly acceptable even for a 5.5-inch screen, and it's very difficult to see individual pixels. Images displayed are crisp, clean and have reasonable colour reproduction, although I did notice that the display was a little warm as standard. But never fear, Xiaomi to the rescue thanks to a setting in MIUI. There are actually 3 settings that can be selected under the display, which allow you to use the default, warm or cool settings, and these change the colour temperature of the screen accordingly. Complementing this is the ability to boost display contrast as well, to maximise readability on bright days. You've also got a dedicated reading mode which removes blue from the screen for those late night browsing sessions. I was also impressed with the viewing angles of the display too, and I actually think it fared better than the recent Xiaomi Mi 4S that I tested, which surprised me because that's a more expensive phone and I expected it to have the upper hand if I'm honest. One of the standout features of the phone is most definitely the fingerprint sensor. This is the second phone I've tested with a rear placed sensor, and I have to say it just works. I found some of the front facing ones require finger acrobatics to get the correct placement and registration, whereas the one on the back just seems to be a natural resting place for my finger. I've also found it's not as fussy as a front home button sensor. Yes, I'm pointing my slightly greasy finger at you, Samsung. Although I'm not discounting that I might be doing something wrong. How difficult can it be to put your finger on a fingerprint sensor? So, what about performance? Given that the version I tested was sporting a MediaTek chipset and 2GB of RAM, my findings were that it actually performed reasonably well. General browsing and tasks were smooth with no real slowdown evidence on basic games. In fact, it's only when I started asking the phone to run high-end graphical games like Modern Combat 5 and similar titles that I saw evidence of slowdown. But you have to keep perspective about what the phone represents. It isn't sporting the latest chipset and doesn't carry the price tag associated with it either. So for me at least, it's performing as expected, and actually better than in some cases. It's probably worth mentioning that the new Pro version of the device does raise the bar, thanks to its use of a Snapdragon chipset in place of the MediaTek CPU. Whilst on the subject of performance, I can't ignore one area in which the device definitely excels, namely the battery. So clocking in at 4000 milliamps, it means that a heavy user can get a day's worth of use, no problem at all, and a light user can actually expect multiple days. All in all, absolutely brilliant battery performance. So far, so good. But with any balanced review, I need to now mention the failings of the Note 3. The first, and in all honesty, only glaring one I can find, is the camera. It isn't the worst camera on a phone I've used, but it certainly isn't the best either. Again, the Pro version of the phone comes with a better shooter, but it's still lacking when compared to the likes of the iPhone or a Samsung device. To be more specific, I feel that the images are a little soft and so lacking detail. Whilst colour reproduction is fairly accurate, it doesn't redeem the camera's shortcomings. Of course, the performance is mirrored with the video camera too, so expect similar results. But for those thinking they now need to write off the phone as a failure, just bear the following in mind. The camera is competent, but a glaring reminder of where Xiaomi have cut costs to meet their target price. But again, I guess the word perspective needs to be used. I started this video by asking if the Redmi Note 3 could compete in this increasingly popular phablet marketplace, and I think I can safely say that it is a viable option, with a few conditions however. If I was to buy again, I'd stump up the extra cash and opt for a Pro or Prime variant to help negate the camera issue. Plus, the extra storage and RAM is always going to be a positive. I think that this end of the phablet marketplace is becoming increasingly competitive, with companies like Meizu and Li TV, to name but a few, chasing buyers. But I think that Xiaomi's ability to offer well-spec'd hardware coupled with a very rich software experience just tips the balance in their favour for now. I hope you like this video and it's been of some use to you, and if you do, please do hit like and subscribe. Also, if you're looking to source the device, I can highly recommend iBuyGoU. Link is in the description below. If you have any difference of opinion, please do share it in comments. I'm always eager to hear what viewers think of the reviews and in turn the products that I'm reviewing. So until next time, take it easy and thanks for watching.